Alright, today it's time for you to take your palette and try two different materials for detail lines. You're going to choose what works best for you. We don't all have things that work equally. You want to take a little bit of black, and then up front you'll find an eyedropper, and just put some water in there. Use one of your mixing brushes to combine the water and the black paint, so it's more like a thinned down ink consistency. So this one says brush control. It says paint your initials using fine tip brush and a thinned down black paint. And you can see my example here. So what you're going to want to do is dip into the paint and then take that bubble of paint off. And for me, if I were going to even just do some lining that is going to outline this box, you can see that the angle that my brush is leaning is going the same direction as that line. So I would dip and then blot. Sometimes this is good practice. If I try to do this, I'm going to end up having a thick, uneven line, so I want to make sure that I'm rotating my paper. And you're not really pressing very hard on the brush. So that's good practice. Maybe outline something. Now I'm going to start to play with very thin lines. You can see the tip of my brush is not bending very much. If I want to add details, these are a little wider, this bristle. Check out the brushes, try different brushes because some are better than others. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to just play with different types of letters. Maybe I want to make a parallel line to this. And so some will be a little bit lighter gray, some are darker. So you're going to go through and make sure that you try a whole bunch of different letters. Maybe it's my whole name, but I'm just saying initials for now. So A, R, B, you could do that. Then you're going to move on, and it says write your initials with the black watercolor pencil. So this is a water-soluble pencil, which means there's dry black paint inside of it. So like watercolor pencils. So I'm going to go through, and you're not pressing hard. If you want it a little bit darker, then just go over a little bit more. You can go through and add details. I'm just being a little bit more creative with my letters. Okay. And then after you have done this, then you're going to take your fine tip brush, and I don't have a water cup, so I'm just going to put a little bit of water in this well. And you want to dip just the tip and then take some off. If you have water that's on this metal ferrule, it's going to end up running and making your ink bleed. So I'm going to tip this, and I can see some more water there. And then you're still working on brush control, but I have so much paint that's still left on my brush, you can see that I can have some other faint lines. So I can take some more, brush some off, even brush some off on my finger or my paper towel, and then just go. So it activates it. And some people do have better control drawing over something and then painting. So then after you've gone through and done this, it says which set looks best to you. Which do you prefer? You have a choice here. And it says you'll use one of these techniques to add detail lines into your painting. And actually, sometimes I'll use both. Sometimes in smaller areas I might have more control with the pencil and water. Okay, and then other times I might have more control with the paint. So this is something that we don't want to see. So I have students that think that this is the way they should outline everything. Does that look as high quality? No. And it's really about the way that you, if I have two lines here, I'm going to just do this in pen. If I have two lines, if I take the ink, dip, take some off, and I'm holding this kind of parallel at the same angle as that, I'm going to have a better line. If I actually try to trace over that line this way, it's usually a little thicker, and sometimes people actually paint, they end up painting with the side of their brush that way, so it's much easier to turn and make sure any line that you're doing, your brush is going in that direction. So if I were going to do my letters, the way you typically write your letter for an M would be like this, right? Now that works out because I've had some practice. But some people want to pick up their brush and move it in one direction. So if you're pulling toward yourself, that's fine, or angling it. Just depends. So practice is important.